This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and this is part 2 of a brief webinar series regarding administering tax increment financing in the Department of Management's local government finance and valuation system. The part 1 of the series talked specifically about background for TIF, some of the common terms, and the general process that levy authorities use to set up and utilize tax increment financing. This second segment is going to talk specifically about setting up TIF taxing districts in the Department of Management's valuation system. You may go through different steps in your local software to set up those same tax districts, in your local systems, but this will specifically address how to set those up in the Department of Management's online system. So to access the system, you would go to the Department of Management's county resource page, which is dom.iowa.gov/counties. And once on that page, in the middle of the county resource page, if you scroll down, you'll see several different blue buttons, and you would select the one that says Submit Valuations, Budgets, and AFR. You're going to access the system using an Enterprise A&A account ID. And this is the same ID that you would use for budgets, valuations in general, anything that you're doing with the Department of Management's online system. If you need access to the system or you need an Enterprise A&A account ID, please contact me and I'll help you get set up with that access. So when we talk about TIF taxing districts, they're created when TIF is first added to the taxation system. Additional districts, of course, can be added moving forward at any time in any valuation year. There may be multiple TIF increment taxing districts associated with one TIF area. So it may be, for instance, an original taxing district, but also accommodating any districts that are required to deal with property with different levy rates. So say a TIF taxing area encompasses both regular city taxing districts and city ag districts. So you would have to have different taxing districts because those areas have different tax rates, city versus city ag. Or you could have an area that accommodates or covers more than one school district. So therefore, you would need different taxing districts to cover those situations where there are different school rates. Increment taxing districts would also need to be created for each year that the area was amended, because you would have different frozen base years for those situations. So you would need to use different taxing districts to separate those out. And also you may have situations where you're creating, and it is optional, different taxing districts for accommodating different rebate agreements. And again, that's sort of an administrative decision. When TIF taxing districts are created, there must be a unique base taxing district associated with every TIF increment taxing district. So they are a one-to-one relationship, one base to one increment, and one increment to one base. Increment districts can't share base districts, and base districts can't share increment districts. You're always going to give the base and increment taxing districts a sequential state taxing district numbers, with the base district first, created first, and also numbered first. And the system is going to populate the next available taxing district number for you in the online system when you're working on it. And when you're creating base and increment districts, you're gonna create the base, and it's going to automatically transition you into creating the increment district. And again, each time a TIF area is amended, property is added into the area, you must add additional base and increment taxing districts to separate out that new group of parcels, because they have different frozen base years. if a TIF area crosses taxing district lines, again, you could have multiple base and increment taxing districts to associate with the area, city versus city ag, um, different school districts, what have you. So just keep those in mind and realize that you may, for one TIF area, be creating several base and increment pairs. When you're adding TIF taxing districts to the system, we do ask that you use uniform naming conventions with the name of the TIF area followed by TIF base or TIF increment at the end of the taxing district names. For example, if we have a city TIF base, you would have the example as follows: Anamosa City, Anamosa School, Anamosa East. That's in our example, the TIF area name, and then you'd end it with TIF base. When you create the increment that goes along with that, it would be Anamosa City, Anamosa School, Anamosa East, TIF increment. In the rural situations, you would have the same similar situation ending with TIF base and TIF increment. And just keep in mind, if you have TIF base and increment districts that represent amendments to existing TIF areas, is very helpful to indicate that it is an amendment within the taxing district name. So, you could include the year if that's helpful, or the specific name of that amendment. But if you include it in the taxing district name, it does help for future reference. When you're creating new TIF taxing districts, the system is going to do some of the work for you. It will associate the levy authorities found with the selected parent taxing district when you create a TIF base taxing district. And when the TIF increment district is created, the system associates those base district levy authorities that are authorized to levy debt service. So it's going to do sort of the thinking for you and the association for you as far as who should be taxing in that area based on what you select as the parent district. In other words, where is this TIF area happening? If we look at the current setup of tax districts, in what tax district is this area happening? That's the parent district. And then we're going to segment out the TIF area from that. We'll go through a brief example to add TIF tax districts. You would go to the tax districts option on the left and select at the top Add Tax District. Before adding the tax district that's TIF, make sure that you have on hand the following pieces of information: the frozen base year, the frozen base amount, the parent again of that taxing district. Where is this TIF occurring? In what taxing district? The type of TIF it is. Is it a city TIF? Is it a county TIF? Is this a rural improvement zone? In other words, a situation that it's a lake development that's going on, a private lake development. And also, of course, you need to know the receiving levy authority. Who is the TIF authority? Who or which entity is authorizing the TIF and will be receiving the TIF revenue? So we went to new taxing district, add new district, and we're going to start. It's going to tell you that it's going to do some of those buildings of levy authorities for you if it's TIF, but you're just going to do a next. And for the basic information, you're going to enter the tax district number. Again, that is going to be provided for you based on the next available number. It is an editable field, but we do recommend that you, keep those to the next available number. You're going to have to enter the tax district name, and in this case, we're creating a base, so we're going to enter TIF base at the end, and it's a city TIF district, so we're going to indicate urban. City information, is it city ag or city exempt? In this case, it's not, so we leave those blank and we do next. And is it TIF related? Well, yes, we're creating a base and increment pair, so we're going to do yes to TIF related, select TIF related, and do next. And then again, as I mentioned, you have to have some of that basic TIF information. You're going to enter the frozen base year, the frozen base amount, and the parent of the base, in which city existing TIF, taxing district is this TIF being located. So you'd select that parent and you do next. And then it's going to move you right into creating the increment that goes along with that base district. So it's going to populate again the next available number for you. For the tax district name, you want to make it just like the base district name, except end it with increment. TIF area type is basically, okay, like which type of TIF is this? What is the levy authority type that's receiving the TIF revenue? And in this case, it is a city, urban renewal, and the receiving authority you would pick from the city drop-down list here. So we select that and we do next. And then it's going to have you review the information. It's going to basically do a summary of what you had provided with the system, and you're going to want to take a good look at that and make sure it looks correct. If it doesn't, something was an error, then you'd want to do a cancel. If not, then you'd create. And it's going to tell you that it created both the TIF base and the TIF increment. So you would do a finish. So that is a brief overview of creating a TIF base and TIF increment district in the online system. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me either by phone or by email. Thank you.